In this video, we're going to see how we can solve quadratic equations by either factorising or using the quadratic formula. Factorising is the easiest way to do it, but it won't always work. So then we need to use the formula. We're going to do 3 examples. One, a simple factorising. The second one will be a harder factorising, and the third one will be with the formula. So let's start with the example on the board there. We've got x squared minus 2x minus 15 equals 0. And we're going to factorise this. The reason why this is slightly simpler to factorise is because we just have a 1x squared at the front there. If there was a different number at the front there, if it was a 2x squared or a 3x squared, it would be harder. So we're going to put this into brackets. So I know I need an x here and an x here because the x times x gives x squared. And now I need 2 numbers that multiply to make minus 15. So that could be a 1 and a minus 15. It could be a minus 1 and a plus 15. It could be a 3 and a minus 5, or a minus 3 and a plus 5. Those are all the pairs of numbers that multiply to make minus 15. It also needs to add up to make minus 2. So therefore, it's going to have to be the 3 and the minus 5. So the 3 times the minus 5 gives me the minus 15, and the 3 plus the minus 5 gives me the minus 2. So therefore, I know it's going to be x plus 3 and an x minus 5. Just as a quick check, if I were to multiply this out, I would have x times x is x squared. I would have x times minus 5 is minus 5x. I would have 3 times x is 3x. A 3 times minus 5 is minus 15. And then when I simplify that, I will have x squared. The minus 5x and the plus 3x gives minus 2x. And then I've got the minus 15 on the end. So we can see that this is correct. So we factorise this. Now we need to think about how we can use this to actually solve our equation. So I'm saying that this factor times this factor is equal to 0, which means that one of these factors must also equal 0. If I have 2 numbers that multiply together to give 0, one of them must be 0. So either x plus 3 equals 0 or x minus 5 equals 0. And now I can say that x is going to either equal minus 3 or x is going to equal plus 5. There we go. So that's a relatively simple quadratic equation to solve. Now let's move to a slightly harder one. So this question is harder because we've got a 6x squared. We've got a 6 in front of the x squared now. Now there are lots of different ways of doing this, lots of different methods. Some of them are really long. I prefer a short method by doing this by almost trial and error. So I'm going to write my brackets out. When I say trial and error, the formal name for this is inspection, but I just call it trial and error. So I've got a 6x squared at the front, which to begin with, I'm thinking this is probably going to be a 3x and a 2x here, because the 3x times the 2x would give me the 6x squared. I could be wrong. It could be a 6x at the front and an x here, because 6x times x gives 6x squared. So it could be that, but I'm going to stick with the 3x and the 2x for now, and we'll see if we can make this work. I'm now looking at the minus 5 on the end here, and I'm thinking about 2 numbers that are going to multiply to make minus 5. So it could be a 1 and a minus 5, or could be a minus 1 and a plus 5. So I'm going to guess, and I'm going to say this is going to be a 1 and this is going to be a minus 5. Maybe it's that way round. Let's check to see if that works. So the 3x times the 2x will give me the 6x squared. The 3x times the minus 5 will give me minus 15x. The 1 times the 2x will give me 2x. The 1 times the minus 5 will give me minus 5. Now, when I collect up those two like terms in the middle there, when I add them together, I can see that I would get minus 13x, which is not quite right. I didn't want a minus 13x, I wanted a plus 13x. So actually, I think I've got these signs the wrong way round. I think it should have been a minus 1 and a plus 5. So let's go back now and make a change. So just bear with me. So like I said, I think that's going to be a minus 1. And that's going to be a plus 5. Let's check to see if that would work. So I would have the 6x squared from there, that's good. Then I would have the 15x from the 3x times 5. And then I would have the minus 1 times 2x, which would be minus 2x. And we can see now that this would give me the plus 13x that I wanted. So this is correct. So hopefully you can see what I mean by when I say trial and error. I tried the plus 5 and the minus 1, I tried the plus 1 and the minus 5 to begin with, it didn't work. Then I tried it the other way around and it did work. So I have now factorised this correctly. I now know that either the first bracket is going to equal 0, or the second bracket is going to equal 0. One of these two brackets must equal 0 if when I multiply them I get 0. And all I'm going to do now is solve both of these equations. So I find that x is either equal to 1/3 or x is going to equal minus 5 over 2. And those are my two answers for this equation. Final example is this one here. Now, first thing to say about this is notice that the quadratic equation here doesn't equal 0 at the moment. We always want our quadratic equations to equal 0. So first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to take 7x away from both sides. And I'm going to take 1 away from both sides as well. That way, my right-hand side will be 0 now. So the left-hand side, I've got the 3x squared there. I took 7x away. I took 1 away. And on the right-hand side, I've got the 7x. I took that away. The 1, I took that away, so that's 0. So that's my first step. Now, if I tried to factorise this, if I tried to find a 3x and an x to give me the 3x squared, and then to get the 1, it's either going to have to be a plus 1 and a minus 1, or it could be the other way around. That could be a minus 1 and that could be a plus 1. And notice in both of these cases, I don't get the minus 7 in the middle. If I did the 3x times the minus 1, I get minus 3x. Plus x, that'd be minus 2x. Doesn't work. Alternatively, if I did the 3x times the plus 1, that'd give me 3x. The minus 1 times the x would give me minus x, and the 3x and the minus x would make 2x. So, again, doesn't work. I can't factorise this at all. So if you can't factorise, we need to use the quadratic formula. Quadratic formula for a general quadratic, ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0 is like this. X equals minus b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac, all divided by 2a. So in this example I'm doing, my a is 3, my b is minus 7, and my c is minus 1. So using the quadratic formula, I will have x equals minus b, so that's minus 7, plus or minus the square root of minus 7 squared. Really important you do use these brackets here. If you don't have brackets there, you will get this wrong. You need to square the minus 7, not just the 7. So really important you use those brackets. Minus 4 times a, which is 3 times c, which is -1. And that's all going to be divided by 2 times a, so 2 times 3. Okay, we can now use our calculator to work this out. Notice that we're going to do this twice. We're going to do this first with a plus, then afterwards we'll do it with a minus. So if we do it with the plus, first of all, and type that into your calculator, I'd suggest you press pause right now and type this into your calculator to make sure you get the same answer that I do. If you type this into your calculator, you should get the answer 2.47. So just double check you got that correct. If you didn't, double check the brackets, make sure that you used brackets around this. Also double check that you got the sign right here. Right, that was when we put the plus in. We're now going to go back up and we're going to do the same calculation again, but now we'll use a minus here instead of the plus. So if we do that, we'll now get the answer of minus 0.14. Both of those rounded to 2 decimal places. And there we go. So that is how you can solve a quadratic equation, either by factorising or by using the quadratic formula.